Good morning again. We're going to start like in a minute. So I'd ask all guests, please retire behind the rail. Thank you. Folks, can we have a little quiet, please? Thank you. Thank you. We're going to get started now. We have a quorum. Note that the hour has come. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes the Reverend Jeanette Davis of the Divas Ministry Group. She is here today as a guest of Councilman Johnson. I would ask all members and guests to please rise. Minister Diva, please come up.
Good morning. Thank you, President Clark, for that introduction. Thank you, Councilmember Johnson, for the invitation to be before council members. Good morning, all council members. Today, I'm here to intercede on behalf of City Council and the residents of Philadelphia. So let us pray. Eternal Father, we come before your throne of grace this morning to give you and you alone all honor, praise, and glory. Father, we just lift up this governing body this morning, Lord, and we ask that you give each individual and collectively as a collaborative governing body the wisdom, the divine wisdom, the insight, the knowledge, Lord, and the love. Give them peace in their hearts, oh God, as they go forward to make legislation that will edify and empower your people. We thank you, oh God, for how you have placed each one in their position. But we also know, Father, that to whom much is given, much is required. So allow them to collaborate collectively in unison so that they're able to accomplish their goals for your residents and constituents of Philadelphia. I ask that you bless each one individual for anything they may be going through themselves, Lord. I ask that you lift them up. I put them in front of your presence this morning, oh God. And I ask that your prayers not only hear our prayers, but that you answer our prayers up in the third heaven this morning. I ask that we touch and agree this morning that we're here for a purpose, Lord, to collaboratively work together so that the people of Philadelphia will be empowered, will be accountable, and Lord, will one day be able to walk in unity in their communities without the senseless gun violence. Allow us and what the legislators are doing to educate our communities, educate our community members so that they're able to go forth and thrive with their lives. So I lift up this governing body to you today, oh God. I ask that you cover each and every member in the blood of Jesus. Let no weapon formed against them shall be able to prosper, Lord, or their plans that they have for this city, oh God. I ask that you give them your divine wisdom and your divine power and also your divine authority. And I ask that all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and who are called according to their purpose. You have given each one purpose, oh God, and I ask that you allow them to excel in this next season of governing the city of Philadelphia. It is in the matchless, the name that is above every name of Jesus the Christ of Nazareth that I pray. And let the redeemed say amen, amen, and amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Davis, for your spiritual guidance this morning. We really appreciate it. Council will be at ease. Thank you very much. And again, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Davis. We really appreciate you being here today. And our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, January 19, 2023. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, January 19th, 2023 be approved.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, January 19, 2023, stand approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and our journal is approved. And our next order of business, a request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of members of council, there are no requests for leaves of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. And the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a motion concerning certain legislative matters that may arise during the course of the council session that were not listed on the calendar today prior to its circulation.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that any of the following matters, if considered today, may be added to the agenda for this session of council, and as required by law, subsequently published on an amended agenda after the consideration of those matters. Resolutions authorizing hearings, amendments to bills on first reading, the reconsideration of a bill vetoed by or recalled from the mayor, amendments to bills recalled from the mayor, resolutions taking substantive action to be voted on in this session, a motion to withdraw a bill or resolution that is not on the calendar, and a motion placing a bill or resolution on or returning a bill or resolution from the suspension calendar that is not listed on today's calendar. The purpose of this motion is to provide the public with notice concerning possible actions by council that arose too late to be included into the calendar that was published prior to today's session.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that this legislative matter stated by Councilman Squilla may be added to the agenda for today should those matters arise during the course of the council session. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And our next order of business is communication. And the chair recognizes the clerk to please read the messages from the mayor and any other communication that he may have in his possession today.
From the mayor to the president and members of the council of the city of Philadelphia, pursuant to sections 4604 and 2307 of the Home Rule Charter, I am today transmitting to the council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bills. Bill numbers 220918, 220944, 220945, 220946, 220948, 220949, 220950, 220969, 220970, and 220973.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. And our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. And I'd ask the chief clerk to please read the titles of the legislation that's being offered by our members today.
Councilman Phillips offers two resolutions. A privileged resolution to commemorate the closing of Relish, the beloved West Oak Lane institution.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the Committee on Children and Youth to conduct hearings to examine the state of Philadelphia's child welfare workforce.
Today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Phillips.
Good morning. Thank you, Council President. I want to speak on the introduction of the Relish resolution. Relish has been a fixture of fine dining and cultural pride and political empowerment for a generation. It was not just a restaurant, it was a meeting place of minds, ideas, and perspectives. So as the sun sets, unfortunately, on this institution, we must ensure that a rising sun of new opportunity emerges for other places to be able to utilize, other restaurants to be able to utilize this space. Again, I salute the visionaries who are the Bynum brothers, the fine chefs, the Wall staff, and owners who conspired to fill our bellies, hearts, and minds. So thank you, Relish, for all your years of service to the city of Philadelphia.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. It is a place that will be missed, but I'm sure that it will rise in some way, shape, or form, not to mention the fact that it actually has good food. So thank you. Mr. Decker? I'm sorry, Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
I just want to say to Member Phillips that is a timely resolution, but before there was a relish, there were several other iterations, and one of them was impulse. Now, see, whoever laughed at that, you know the time frame in which they were born, and I want to thank the Bynums and an obscure DJ and manager by the name of Nutter, Michael Nutter, who was a frequent participant in that process, but a lot of institutional memories, Member Phillips, spring back from that, and I'm just so thankful to the Bynums, their father, them for their contribution as Philadelphians. They're part of all Philadelphia, but in particular, Black and Brown Philadelphia. Yeah. So thank you, Member Phillips, for putting that in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Decker.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson offers a privilege resolution recognizing and honoring Philadelphia High School for Girls on its semi-centennial anniversary, 175 years of academic excellence.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Council President. Greetings and good morning, colleagues. I am so pleased to welcome to City Council today my alma mater, the Philadelphia High School for Girls. On February 1st, 2023, the Philadelphia High School for Girls will celebrate our 175th anniversary. Since 1848, the Philadelphia High School for Girls has helped transform young women into the next generation of leaders, making an impact not only in Philadelphia, but across our nation and around the world. Our motto is Wink it, Key say wink it, and that translates into she who conquers herself. And Girls High alumni do just that. I remember Marcia Hinton saying, "You can tell a Girls High girl, but you can't tell her much." Girls High girls include women like Meta Vaux Warwick Fuller, who in 1907 became the first African-American woman to receive a federal art commission. Women like Karen Hasty Williams, who in 1974 became the first African-American woman to clerk for the United States Supreme Court. Our very own Dr. Constance Clayton, who is with us this morning, who in 1982 became the first woman and the first African-American woman to lead the school district of Philadelphia. I want to pause there so we can recognize her. Women like Judith Rodin, who in 1994 became the first woman president of the University of Pennsylvania. Women like Shirley Clark Franklin, who in 2001 became the first woman mayor of Atlanta, Georgia, and the first woman elected mayor of any major southern city. And my mentor, and the reason why I occupy this seat, Blondell Reynolds Brown, who from 1999 to 2015 was the only woman to serve Philadelphia City Council at large. 24 years ago this year, I met Councilmember Blondell Reynolds Brown at an early morning assembly, and from there she stayed in contact with me, a young 15-year-old girl. I was able to volunteer in her office, serve as an intern in her office, a graduate intern in her office, constituent services representative in her office, special projects manager in her office, legislative aide for 5 years in her office, staff director, and then chief of staff. She is the reason why I am here today. Councilmember Blondell Reynolds Brown. Please stand. Women like Archbishop Mary Floyd Palmer, like Dr. Debonair Oates Primus, like Kyra Harris, Communications Director for Councilmember Vaughn, like Stephanie Marsh, and so many women in Philadelphia city government and politics, like Marcia Hinton, our Executive Director of our Alumni Association, Azib Kinder, who is also here with us, and all of the girls from the Philadelphia High School for Girls. We are not just classmates, we are sisters, and we become family. So colleagues, please join me in welcoming all of my colleagues and friends from the Philadelphia High School for Girls and congratulate all of us on the occasion of our 175th anniversary. Thank you very much. And CP, I just want to mention for the record, we appreciate our district council member, Councilmember Cindy Bass, and we thank you for all of your support.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. That will be on today's calendar.
Councilman Johnson offers 4 resolutions. On behalf of Council President Clark, a non-privileged resolution urging the United States Congress to pass the Gun Records Restoration and Preservation Act, introduced last session by U.S. Senator Bob Menendez and Congresswoman Barbara Lee, which would repeal the TART amendments, whose provisions have hampered efforts to address gun trafficking by, among other things, identifying and holding accountable irresponsible gun dealers and owners.
Next week's calendar.
And on his own behalf, Councilman Johnson offers a privileged resolution honoring the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated on the occasion of their 92nd North Atlantic Regional Conference and declaring March 9, 2023 as Alpha Kappa Alpha Day in the city of Philadelphia.
This week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing February 1 through 7, 2023 as National Gun Violence Survivor Week in honor of survivors of gun violence and the lifelong burdens they carry.
This week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring the life and legacy of South Philadelphia legendary disc jockey and entertainer Jerry Blavat, known as the Geeter with the Heater and the Boss with the Hot Sauce.
This week's calendar.
Councilwoman Vaughn offers 2 resolutions. A privileged resolution recognizing Beresford B.J. Jones, co-chair of the Philadelphia Police Department LGBTQ Liaison Committee, for his tireless efforts toward improving relations between law enforcement and the communities they serve.
Thank you. Before that will be on next week's calendar, Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. I just want to ask if we could stand and take a moment of silence for South Philadelphia legend Jerry Blavat. We had a great relationship with him. One of my prime DJs, but most importantly, a lot of people don't know the service work that he's done to help others. And the capacity of him being a DJ and entertainer, just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge his life and legacy. Also in partnership with my colleague from South Philadelphia, Councilman Mark Squilla.
All right, Councilman, we'll, when we take the vote on the resolution, we'll do a standing vote.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Council President.
Councilwoman Vaughn also offers a non-privileged resolution condemning the Union League of Philadelphia for bestowing its highest honor, the gold medal, upon Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Harity offers a non-privileged resolution urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly to introduce legislation allowing cities and counties of the first class to set their own minimum wage laws.
Next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Harity.
Council President, today I introduce a resolution calling on the Pennsylvania General Assembly to allow Philadelphia to enact its own minimum wage law. I'd like to thank Councilmember Driscoll for co-introducing this resolution and our co-sponsors for their support. Minimum wage is more than just a labor issue. It's a human right to earn a decent living to provide themselves and their families. For too long, that right has not been modified by our state legislator to account for increase in cost of living for the past 14 years. It is up to us as representatives of what is the poorest big city in the country, to stand up for Philadelphians and demand higher wages. From my time as an aide with Senator Street, I've worked on statewide issues affecting a wide swath of Pennsylvanians. I've learned that all politics are local, and sometimes the best solutions are decided at the local level. Lower-income Philadelphians are on the precipice. A current minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, but with the cost of living and inflation, that real wage is $6.69 an hour. This is all while the amount of back rent is at a record high. Our economy is in an uncertain state, and the cost of living in the city continues to rise. This body has tried to do what it can to increase the minimum wage, particularly for city workers and contractors, but it is time for us to help all Philadelphians by advocating for them at a state level so that we can make these important decisions at a local level. There are already numerous exceptions for cities and counties of the first class, of which Philadelphia is the only one in the Commonwealth. There is no reason why the right to decide our own minimum wage is not included in this list. As such, it is time for us to demand the legal authority to set our own minimum wage so that we can guide the city through whatever economic times lay ahead while respecting the rights and dignity of all our workers.
Thank you, Councilman. And again, that will be on next week's calendar. Thank you, Councilman.
Councilwoman Gautier offers two bills entitled an ordinance authorizing the vacating of Sloan Street from Ogden Street to its terminus northwardly therefrom and reserving and plotting upon the city plan, number 106, of a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes. And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Haverford Avenue, 44th Street, Belmont Avenue, Girard Avenue, and 40th Street.
Thank you. Those two bills will be referred to the appropriate committee.
Councilman O'Neill offers an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 370 by striking from the City Plan Southampton Road from Bustleton Avenue to its terminus southeasterly therefrom.
That bill will be referred to committee.
Councilman Squillo offers a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 3001 Martha Street located in the 1st Councilmanic District.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman O offers a privileged resolution recognizing and honoring Rodney Little for his exemplary and outstanding service as a dedicated military officer and public servant.
And that will be on this week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered today by the members, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Decker. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions for today. We have no reports from committee today, so we will move to our next order of business is the consideration of the calendar. As there are no bills on our first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Jones for the purpose of calling on bills and resolutions on today's second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up from second reading to final passage calendar today. Numbers 230, 014, 230, 018, 230, 019, 230, 021, 220, 918A, 220, 770, and 220, 942. All other bills and resolutions are being held.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Before considering these resolutions and bills, we will consider our public comment session. Your public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendar for possible action at today's session. All speakers must sign up in order to testify. If you have not already done so, you can please go to the Sergeant of Arms in the hallway at a table set up outside a doorway of the council chambers. Once you have signed up, you will be called in order in which your name appears on the sign-up sheet, and under ideal circumstances, which we have today, you will be given 3 minutes to speak. In order to be fair, though, to all those wishing to speak, I intend to hold faithfully to the established time limit. So you will see a green light on the podium when it is your time to speak. And when the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. And when the light turns red, we'd ask that you please adhere to the guidelines and conclude your remarks. We also reserve the right, pursuant to the rules of council, to alter repetitious comment to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to say. So, Mr. Decker, can you please read the first name on our list for today's public comment?
The first speaker today, Mr. President, is Enrique Hervada, commenting on 220918.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Enrique Hervada, and I'm the COO of the Cobbs Creek Foundation. I want to thank you for the opportunity to address you today regarding the Overlay District 2001-8. As I stated last week, we're a 501c3 nonprofit working in partnership with the City of Philadelphia, Philadelphia Parks and Recreation, the Philadelphia Water Department, and I'm here today to talk about that overlay. This ordinance is essential for moving our project forward, as minor steep slope disruption is required for the creek restoration plan. Restoring this failing creek is actually a requirement of our lease with the city and will not only benefit the golf course and surrounding community, it will provide no increase in downstream flooding. As previously stated, we have followed every applicable agency's requirement, including but not limited to the Army Corps of Engineers, the Department of Environmental Protection, Philadelphia Arts Commission, Planning Commission, and Water Department, and will continue to do so. Last week, the Philadelphia Planning Commission unanimously approved moving forward with this ordinance at third meeting on January 19th, 2022, and I would appreciate the support, and I thank all of you for your time today. It's going to be a tremendous project for the city of Philadelphia, really benefit the youth in the region, and something we can all be proud of moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Morgan Moore, commenting on 220918.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Morgan Moore, and I am the Director of Education and Community Engagement with the Cobbs Creek Foundation. As Enrique stated, we are a 501c3 nonprofit seeking to renovate the historic Cobbs Creek Golf Course and also build a 30,000 square foot educational center there on the grounds. I'd like to start by saying that we live in an incredible and history-filled city, and each time that I come into City Hall, I am reminded of that fact. Nonetheless, despite that, this is a city that has been plagued by violence, of which far too often our young people have been both the victims and the perpetrators. We oftentimes state that our youths are the leaders of tomorrow, but I recently attended a community meeting in which a fellow nonprofit leader framed it a bit differently. She stated that our young people are in fact the leaders of today, and her words have remained with me because they are so unequivocally true. Our young people are the leaders of today. And so I ask, what kind of leaders are we here to foster? Will we foster leaders that respect and preserve the best parts of our history, that are educated, that seek to better their communities? Or will we do nothing? This project is about fostering leaders like Charlie Sifford, a man who fearlessly fought for his right to enter the sport of golf, which had all but precluded him because of the color of his skin. It is about supporting our young people and providing them with opportunities they may have never had otherwise, without the barriers of cost or accessibility. It's about taking a historical asset that has sat in degradation for years and making it something that benefits all in our community. And so today I'm here speaking both as an educator and as a community member. I ask our city council again to vote in support of Bill 220918, not for the Cobbs Creek Foundation, but for the people of Overbrook Park and Overbrook and Winfield, where I grew up. Let's support our young people. Let's provide them with free educational and athletic opportunities. The time to do so is now, and I implore our city council to support our community in making this happen. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Ben Duan, commenting on 220918.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Ben Dewan, and I am the grounds superintendent for the foundation. I was here last week, so I won't take up too much of your time. I just would like to second what my colleagues have already testified to and reaffirm my support for this bill that would allow the creek restoration, golf course renovation, and construction of an education center to move forward. These projects offer somewhere to go that is safe, able to be enjoyed by all, environmentally friendly, and allows the foundation to continue exciting and beneficial work that has already started in neighboring schools. Thank you all for your teamwork and collaboration in forming this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
The next speaker is Lisa Mezzi, commenting on Resolution 230038, introduced today by Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Not here? She's gone? Okay. Next name.
The next speaker is Dr. Constance Clayton, commenting today on Resolution number 230038.
Greetings to our City Council. I am indeed honored that you have been gracious in inviting me to speak before you this day. For the anniversary of the 175th anniversary of the Philadelphia High School for Girls, the legendary institution of national prominence. While I am not 175 years old, although there are some who may think that, I am a proud alumna of the Philadelphia High School for Girls, which brought a sisterhood spanning almost 2 centuries of brilliant women who reflected from the walls where excellence was the expectation. I take pride in having had a distinguished career serving the students of our city, very aware of the role Girls High played in installing in me a can-do attitude so necessary in a society where gender limitations often smother the dreams and dash the hopes of countless girls and women. And while girls have gained access to some other academic prestigious schools and policies have changed, allowing girls to attend the once all-male school building up the street from where the Girls High is currently located. There is and always will be something about a Girls High girl, fortified by her participation elevating her worth and reminding her of the benefits of motivating and inquisitiveness and a relentless spirit, and that inquisitive mind and countless spirit contributed to my work as an educator, especially during my decade as superintendent. They were the catalyst for my tough questions that I always ask and am still asking, and my relentless pursuit of opportunities for all students. I know that my daily encounters with academic vigor while at Girls High were top of my mind as I pushed for a standardized curriculum to support educational equality in Philadelphia during my tenure. You see, once you have tasted on high expectations, as I did at Girls High, you want to invite others to come to the table. I hope that current and future members of City Council will continue to support the current superintendent, Dr. Tony Watlington, and all future superintendents who have had an eye on equitable input and outcomes to ensure that this Girls High grad, as I take my final rest, the lessons that I learned while at Girls High will be a significant part of my legacy to the service of Philadelphia.
Thank you so much, Dr. Clayton. We really appreciate your service, and we appreciate you more than you know. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to, and I don't know if there's a younger generation that's here, but they may not know who the presence they are in terms of the sweet, gentle young lady who just recently spoke. This is the Honorable Dr. Constance Clayton, former school superintendent, the most outstanding and best superintendent in the history in the city of Philadelphia. I was a kid who grew up in South Philadelphia, and through her not only educational prowess, but her standards for all young people, and through her grace and her advocacy around education, I'm able to be a graduate from Mansfield University with a degree in criminal justice with dual minors in philosophy and sociology, a master's degree in government administration and public finance from Fell Center of Government, and also went to Harvard Business School and got a certificate in nonprofit leadership and board management. But I attributed all of my educational background, and I'm also a public school graduate at Edward Bach High School, Barrett Junior High School, and Childs Elementary, and all of that came under the era of Dr. Constance Clayton. So thank you very much for your leadership and your service. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman.
The next speaker is Lisa Mezzi, commenting on 230038.
Good morning.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Lisa Misi. I am the 20th principal of the Philadelphia High School for Girls, who is celebrating 175 years. On February 1st, we will continue the celebration through 2023. I am giving my time to one of our fabulous students, the president of our senior class, the class 267, Ms. Sage Charles.
Morning. Hi. I would like to share what Girls High means to me. Girls High is not only an academic institution, but a fond memory to me. At Girls High, opportunities await with every room entered, every hallway traveled, and every chair sat in. For me, it was all these things on my first day freshman year. I was scared. I had no knowledge about what to expect being at Girls High. I had arrived early and sat in my advisory alone for some time. Then Anne walked in. She sat right across from me, and we sat in silence until I gained enough courage to surpass our shared introverted fear. We talked with one another, where one conversation laid ground for the next, mirroring the branches of a tree. As time passed, we became best friends, and are still best friends to this day, conversing in the same tree-like fashion we did when we first met. By lunchtime my first day, I had a group of friends who I've grown with throughout the years, who I now call my family. With their support, I advanced past the stereotypical labels assigned to young black women, as well as my own limitations, grasping some of the many opportunities Girls High had to offer. I became senior class president, advanced to varsity volleyball after spending 1 year on JV, became a Stepping Stone Scholar as well as a student ambassador, received the Jefferson Book Award from the University of Virginia, became a part of 2 National Honor Societies, as well as various other organizations that aided in the expansion of my Girls High family, including the SAFE Initiative, where we work to ensure our sisters' safety in our neighborhood, hoping to expand our operation to other schools. At Girls High, I found a second home, just as many others have, creating a sisterhood within a sisterhood, where everywhere you turn, there's always someone who supports you. The Alumni Association have also supported me and my sisters in our journey at Girls High, introducing us to more opportunities outside of Girls High to aid us in our professional journeys. Knowing even though I'll be physically parting with my sisters this coming June, that I'll still be able to support my little sisters through the Alumni Association eases the pain of leaving such a fine institution. And knowing my fond memory will always be with me, and that my parting signals the beginning of a new generation of Girls High girls' journeys exists as proof of everlasting sisterhood and family. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Sage Charles, commenting on 230038.
That was Paige.
The next speaker is Lynn Landis, commenting on 210913.
Morning.
Good morning. Whoops. Good morning. I'm Lynn Landis, founder of healthalertphilly.org. I support Resolution 210913, but today I'm here to talk about corruption in public health. It is common knowledge that many of our federal agencies are held captive by the very industries they're supposed to regulate. The worst example of this corruption is the National Institute of Health, under which the FDA and CDC function. Their financial connections with Big Pharma are so systemic, and their advice to doctors is so tainted that the medical profession itself has become one of the leading causes of injury and death, according to a study from Johns Hopkins University last year. The promotion of deadly opioids and harmful COVID vaccines are just the latest examples of this corruption. We also have a long line of other medications and vaccines that have caused untold damage and death. Yet rarely does anyone from Big Pharma or these federal agencies ever go to jail. Instead, companies like Pfizer are fined billions of dollars, which goes to the federal government, and then they simply continue to go about their deadly business. Worse yet, in the case of childhood vaccines and the COVID vaccines, Big Pharma is shielded from any kind of product liability by Congress. The only legal strategy that might work is litigation based on claims of fraud, which quite frankly appears to be Big Pharma's business model. As our public health officials continue to promote toxic drugs and vaccines for pregnant women, babies, children, and adults, especially our military, soaring numbers of people are afflicted with immune dysfunction, as well as autism, attention deficit, impulsivity, and other neurological disorders. Brain disorders are a main cause of crime, addiction, suicide, and homelessness. This is why it is critical that our public representatives not trust what public health authorities recommend or mandate, such as face masks and vaccines, but instead do their own research and due diligence, and then make their own informed decisions. You can learn more at healthalertphilly.org. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Catrice Cheaton, commenting on 210-396.
Hi, can you hear me?
Good morning.
My name is Catrice Cheaton, and me and my brother have been homeless now for like 9 days due to some corruption happening at the sheriff department. So when I saw this resolution about temporary stays on mortgage and tax foreclosure sales, I thought that was a great idea. There also needs to be temporary stays on any eviction before there's a service or serve a notice to the person who has to be evicted. Because there's a lot of stuff going on down there that you need to look into before you keep evicting people. Now, we've been in the homeless system. It's been a hot mess for like the past 9 days. We don't have a shelter to go to. Everything is overrun. If you don't do anything to stay with these evictions, these mortgage and foreclosure sales, your system's going to be more overrun. You're going to have more problems. You need to get a handle on it now. Because it's not fair that, even though I did get a chance to speak our truth, I'm going to speak our truth on Monday. We have to wait till Monday for a trial to speak our truth. What are we supposed to do for 4 days? Where are we supposed to go? I can't keep sleeping in waiting rooms at the hospital by their grace and their niceness to us. We have yet to sleep on the vent on the street. We came really close to that last night. Yeah, I have a refrigerator full of food going bad at home and 2 beds to sleep in. Because of corruption down your different departments, here I stand. And I know my rights. I've been doing community work in the city for years. So if you want to get a handle on what's happening in the city, you just start doing these stays immediately and stop what's going on down there first, so that more people don't end up on the street. Because you really can't even handle the people that are there. I ran into some people today and they said, I challenge every city council member, anybody running for mayor, to be homeless for a week. Let the sheriff department bum rush you without notice and make you leave with clothes on your back like this is me and my brother. And then sit on the street for 7 days. Y'all need a reality check. Basically. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Dr. Mary Palmer, commenting on 230-038.
Good morning.
My name is Dr. Mary Floyd Palmer. I'm also known as Archbishop Mary Floyd Palmer. I am excited to be here today, and how could I possibly follow Dr. Constance Clayton? As a proud summa cum laude graduate of the 1980 class of the Philadelphia High School for Girls, known as class number 224, I share all of the sentiments that have been expressed thus far in the celebration of our high school's 175th anniversary. My great-great-aunt was a graduate in the 1930s, and so my mother made up in her mind that's where I was going. But it was my late father, the Reverend Dr. Melvin Floyd, who was given the opportunity to go to elementary, junior, and high schools under the leadership of Dr. Constance Clayton to help decrease gang war violence and speak to youth in trouble. Because of that open door, he said, the only school you can go to is the best school in the city of Philadelphia, ahead of Central, and that was the Philadelphia High School for Girls. My late parents demanded excellence of me, as was the standard under the leadership of the inaugural principalship of Dr. Marion Steed. And it was during that time that I had to excel academically, in sports, as well as in music. I didn't have a moment of nothing else but work. And I was excited, often frustrated, but I'm so grateful that when people see that name, they often already have a standard of expectation and excellence. Excellence was a mandate and something that we must do, and something that I have carried on throughout whatever career I was doing. And I am excited to join the legends of many honorable women who have graduated from our school, and I'm proud to be the first female archbishop in the city of Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania, made so in 2019, as well as an international centennial honorary member of the greatest sorority in the world, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and a peace ambassador for the United Nations. These things would not have been done if I had not been given the opportunity of having an excellent education. So I say to those who have gone before, to Dr. Clayton and others that have led and put a path for us to the young ones in the room, you can achieve anything if you put your mind to it. Excellence shouldn't be an exception. It must be your rule. And if so, you will live up to Vincent Keesey Vincent, which honors our school forevermore. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We really appreciate it.
There are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our public comment session for today. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 230014.
A resolution approving the reappointment of Wendell Anthony Ewing to the Philadelphia Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Rate Board.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
We get confused often. Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I move for the adoption of the resolution. Am I at the right place?
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, 230018.
A resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2315, 2316, 2317, 2318, 2337, 2339, and 2349 Greenwood Street, 1709, 1711, 1822R through 34, and 1836 Point Breeze Avenue, 1555 South Ringgold Street, 2445 Federal Street, and 2329 Ellsworth Street, located in the 2nd District.
Thank you. I now recognize Councilman Johnson for a motion on the resolution.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. Resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, 230019.
A resolution appointing Albert Littlepage to the Board of Directors of the Philadelphia Land Bank.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson for a motion.
Thank you, Council President. I move that resolution number 230019 be withdrawn.
It's been moved and properly second that resolution number 230019 be withdrawn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution number 230019 has been withdrawn. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 230021.
A resolution authorizing requests to the Law Department to represent City Council in an appeal from decisions of the Department of Licenses and Inspections to the Philadelphia Zoning Board of Adjustment or the License and Inspection Review Board, and, if the Law Department declines to render such services to City Council, authorizing the retention of outside counsel to provide such services.
Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution number 230021 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 220918A.
An ordinance amending Chapter 14500 of the Philadelphia Zoning Code entitled Overlay Zoning Districts by creating a new subsection entitled Cobbs Creek Golf Course Overlay District.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones for an amendment to bill number 220918A.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer an amendment to bill number 220918A. A copy of that amendment has been circulated to all members of City Council, and I'd like to speak on it.
Please do, sir.
So, first and foremost, I need to thank Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson as chair of the Environmental Committee, who insisted that dialogue happen between community groups that are impacted by this development. I want to secondly thank Member Johnson, who is downstream from the golf course, whose constituents have brought forth issues, concerns that this amendment addresses. I want to thank Councilwoman Jamie Gutierrez, who has been patiently nudging negotiations between all parties. And I want to thank you, and I'm going to tell you why. By entering into these dialogues, we have learned a thing or two about environmental justice and what it truly means and what it purports to black and brown people and people in general throughout the community. So sometimes in a contentious environment or legislation, you can learn if you listen to each other. And this amendment reflects some of that listening. Thank you. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, bill number, ayes have it, and bill number 220918A has been amended. Bill number 220918A as amended will be placed on a final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 220770.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the measurements of zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Cotman Avenue, Oxford Avenue, Tyson Avenue, Rising Sun Avenue, Glenview Street, Bingham Street, Kerper Street, Rising Sun Avenue, Unruh Avenue, Martins Mill Road, City Boundary, and Hasbrook Avenue.
This bill having been read on 2 different days, the question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Brooks. Councilman Driscoll. Councilwoman Gauthier. Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson. Councilman Harity. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lozada. Councilman O. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman Phillips. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Thomas. Councilwoman Vaughn. Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes are 16 and nays are 0. Majority of all members having voted in the affirmative, the bill passes. 1 second. I see that on my screen I have Councilmember Jones and Councilmember Thomas. Was that a mistake? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 220942.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designation of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Parkside Avenue, 49th Street, Jefferson Street, and 48th Street extended.
This bill having been read on 2 different days, the question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Brooks. Councilman Driscoll. Councilwoman Gauthier. Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson. Councilman Harity. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilwoman Lozada. Councilman O. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman Phillips. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Thomas. Councilwoman Vaughn. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 16 and nays are 0. Majority of all members in the present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution to commemorate the closing of Relish, the beloved West Oak Lane institution, introduced today by Councilman Phillips.
Chair recognizes Councilman Phillips.
I move to adopt the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Children and Youth to conduct hearings to examine the state of Philadelphia's child welfare workforce, introduced today by Councilman Phillips. Councilman Phillips, Mr. President.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Phillips.
I move to adopt the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the Philadelphia High School for Girls on its Sept-Centennial anniversary, 175 years of academic excellence, introduced today by Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Council President. On behalf of all the Girls High Girls worldwide and all the Girls High Girls represented here today, I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing February 1 through 7, 2023 as National Gun Violence Survivor Week in honor of survivors of gun violence and the lifelong burdens they carry, introduced today by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved to properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring the life and legacy of South Philadelphia legendary disc jockey and entertainer Jerry Blavat, known as the Geeter with the Heater and the Boss with the Hot Sauce, introduced today by Councilman Johnson.
Chair again recognizes Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I ask for a moment of silence in the adoption of
So we have a
resolution.
standing moment of silence on behalf of the Geeter with the Heater, my man Pots and Pans. Motion carries. Thank you.
And a resolution recognizing Beresford B.J. Jones, co-chair of the Philadelphia Police Department LGBTQ Liaison Committee, for his tireless efforts toward improving relations between law enforcement and the communities they serve, introduced today by Councilwoman Vaughn.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Vaughn.
I'd like to have the resolution accepted.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Rodney Little for his exemplary and outstanding service as a dedicated military officer and public servant, introduced today by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you, Council President. My error. I apologize. You know, Rodney Little is a retired sergeant major, and he'd be offended to call him an Army officer. So I will withdraw that and reintroduce it again next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Make a motion. Councilman, give us a motion to withdraw.
I make a motion to withdraw the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is withdrawn to be reintroduced with the appropriate name at a later date. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. That concludes our calendar for the day, and we will move to our speeches. Speeches on behalf of the minorities. Chair, I see none. On behalf of the majority, Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I first want to take a moment to thank Councilmember Phillips, as well as Senator Saval, along with the staff of Councilmember Gaudier, Councilmember Brooks, as well as Senator Street, for attending yesterday's debrief as it relates to educators across the city of Philadelphia. Yesterday, we were able to convene at an amazing facility, which is the CCP, Community College of Philadelphia campus in West Philadelphia. And anybody who has not been there, I highly recommend you visit that facility to see the great work that we're doing. But we were able to have an amazing conversation yesterday where we were able to listen to educators and administrators from all across the city to talk to us about some of the issues that they're facing and some of the things that we can do to support them and make their experience as well as the experience of our children a little bit better. So I look forward to continuing the good work as it relates to partnering with our educators in our schools. And I look forward to our committee of the whole conversation that's going to be coming January 31st, where we will be able to have a collective dialogue around the state of our schools as well as what we need to do moving forward. There's no surprise to at least this legislative body and those across the city of Philadelphia that knows me that I'm a big sports fan. I love sports from elementary school age all the way to professional athletes. And for those who don't know, there's a huge game this weekend where Imhotep, which is a Philadelphia-based school, will play against Camden, which is clearly in the city of Camden. Myself, as well as Councilmember Gilmore Richardson, you, Council President, as well as Councilmember Jones, went over to visit Camden to be able to talk about some of the things that we could collaborate on and some of the things that we could look at as it relates to some of the crime that we have in the city of Philadelphia. And clearly, I have a bias. I consider Camden a great partner. But unfortunately, this weekend, we're not going to be partners. So I want to take a moment to challenge the mayor of Camden as well as the Camden City Council to a friendly wager. Of course, here in Philadelphia, we're betting on Imhotep, which is the number 6 team in the entire country. Camden is the number 11 team in the entire country. Imhotep's best player just recently took over as the number 1 player in the entire country. And Camden's best player is now the number 2 player in the entire country. So we can clearly see that we have a lot of talent in the tri-state area. In Philadelphia alone, we have 3 teams that are ranked in the top 25 as it relates to boys basketball. And so I challenge Camden and the city of Camden to a friendly bet, to a nice meal, as well as a donation to their favorite nonprofit organization based on the winner of Saturday's outcome. If you don't know, St. Joe's University is already sold out, and we anticipate it being a great day in high school sports. We haven't seen anything like this in over a couple dozen years. Wow. And so we anticipate it being an amazing day. Outside of that, another important thing that we have to consider is the name, image, and likeness of all these student athletes. I introduced the NIL protection bill in our last council session, and we're still working diligently with the private sector as well as other stakeholders to make sure that when we consider things like the tri-state area having 4 teams in the top 25, that we're understanding how sports and athletics are changing, and we're doing everything in our power to protect the most vulnerable. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, colleagues, and hopefully the city of Camden accept our friendly wager.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Look forward to that one. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to acknowledge the work that was done by members of council, in particular Councilmember Johnson, on pulling together a marathon last week that focused on gun violence, prevention of crime, and narrowly tailored the questions to the prospective 100th mayor to say, what are you going to do about it? Everybody knows the problems, they're chronicled, but the solutions needed to be heard by the audience. I want to thank the stakeholders who put together really good questions, insightful questions to create that kind of dialogue. And finally, the audience, which was standing room only, like the fire marshal had to keep people out. So the interest in the topic was there. But what was noticeable to me was that they were so quiet. There wasn't a bunch of cheering. There wasn't a bunch of booing. What there was a lot of listening. And people want to hear solutions to that. So to that end, one of the things we do is we pass laws, we pass resolutions, we have hearings about the topic of gun violence, a topic of crime. But what we also must do, and particularly during the time of budget, is go back to examine our work to see how it's working. 4 topics that I'll be looking to departments to get a sense of is, number 1, we passed a bill for red flag laws. Common sense gun law that says that if someone states that they are going to be a threat to you, themselves, and others, that we have the right to confiscate firearms in their possession until there is a hearing to determine their aptitude, attitude about owning a gun. We know domestic violence. Usually people say what they're going to do. Sometimes we need to believe them. So we want to check with police and the district attorney to see if those laws are working. Second follow-up is we passed a bill on lost and stolen guns. That's common sense gun laws that this body took the step to procure the law, and now it's possibly hung up in state court. We need to revisit that to make sure that they understand that, this is an academic. Our lives depend on these issues. The third component of following up to public safety is some of these games of chance that are in a lot of those stores, corner stores, that are a bait for crime. That there are people that stalk these stores where these games of chance are, and when Mrs. Smith hits the number, they know, they make a call, they tell what they may have on, and they have been victims of crime. We need to, again, get a ruling from the Pennsylvania courts to say, do we have the right to license these people? Do we have the right to even know where the machines are placed? Do we have the right to tax them and to make sure that they are responsible neighbors in our community? So these are things that we need to focus on. And finally, we did a hearing on disinvestment of our city tax dollars to any business that invests in firearms. We should not, we cannot allow for the business of violence to be conducted and in fact supported by our tax dollars. So these 4 things, follow-ups that we took initiative on, took action on, we want to make sure that if there is a law and no one enforces it, is there really a law? So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you for your all's continued good work. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gautier.
Thank you, Council President, and good afternoon, everyone. Last week, Majority Leader Jones and I introduced a bill proposing an extension of the Mixed Income Neighborhoods Overlay and TOD Overlay across a stretch of West Market Street that he and I share. We are taking this step to be proactive about ensuring that affordable housing will continue to exist along this vital transit-oriented corridor for decades to come. I am also pleased to report that within the existing Mixed Income Neighborhoods Overlay, there are currently permits in process that will create 325 new housing units. These permits range from projects as small as 10 units, men's floor, and as high as 150 units. And because of men, these permits will generate 65 new affordable units, 42 in the 3rd District and 23 in the 7th District. That means that within the first few months of its existence, the Mixed Income Neighborhoods Overlay will generate more genuinely affordable units than in the first 3 years of the optional mixed income housing section of the code citywide. I hope that this shows that this overlay does not halt development, because some have challenged the legitimacy of men by demanding that it generate new homes within an unrealistically short time frame. I urge these skeptics to also measure the impact of traditional market rate real estate development on our neighborhoods. So let's pause and do that for a moment. Before men, rents in West Philadelphia surged by 200 to 300%, even as hundreds of units came online inside the overlay's boundaries every year, almost none of them affordable. At the same time, gentrification and skyrocketing costs pushed half of the Black population east of 52nd Street out of the 3rd District. And many developers prioritize milking as much profit out of our neighborhoods as possible, at the expense of working-class Black and brown residents whose families called West Philly home for generations. These are outcomes that also deserve to be scrutinized. And when they are, it becomes clear that the status quo was endangering the vitality of our neighborhoods. I created men as a pathway to ensure the market worked alongside rather than against our community. And today, we're showing that men is doing just that. Because even after the reduction of the citywide tax abatement and rising construction costs and inflation, the real estate process inside the overlay continues. Ultimately, we must give the Mixed Income Neighborhoods Overlay time to work, but signs point in the right direction, and I could not be more excited. Even though 65 affordable homes and 260 market rate ones barely scratch the surface of the city's need, it's a welcome sign that the overlay will generate deeply affordable homes in some of West and Southwest's most high amenity neighborhoods and debunks the claim that no development is happening inside the overlay. Engaging in unfair, biased scrutiny of a policy that has been in effect for 6 months will do nothing to end our housing affordability crisis. What will is bold action. What will is partnership. What will is a commitment that all Philadelphians deserve a high-quality place to live in a neighborhood of opportunity. I look forward to working with my colleagues, the community, and all willing stakeholders to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Phillips.
Thank you, Council President. This week has been a wonderful week for me because I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time in our district learning about important issues that are really vital to the preservation of the quality of life of the 9th District. Last week, I said to all of us here today that I vowed to be a council member that will not only be a person that will work to press forth issues in a community that we believe are important, but most importantly, I'm a council member who will always listen and always vow to make sure that we do what our neighbors are asking us to do in terms of service. One of the models that I have, and I've learned this, I'm a student of history. I have a model that I try to lead by, Council President, and also colleagues, in all the work that I do. In South Kenya, they ask this question every single day as a greeting. It is, how are the children? It is a greeting that is vital to the state of that region only because when they ask that particular question, they're asking that question because they want to have everyone that they greet with that question, instead of saying, hello, what's up, how's your day? They want to know, what did you do today for the state of our children? When I decided that I wanted to be in this role as city council, I had no other individual, no other population, no other agenda in mind, but what are we doing for our children? Because we can't talk about our future unless we are working towards improving our future. When I was in youth development, as an educator, helping young people to go to college and get careers at the high school, as well as a teacher, and also helping them become civically engaged, I worked 24/7 to make sure our young people were at an excellent state. You can ask anybody around the city of Philadelphia who knows me, they know that it's true. I now work 24/7 for our community because our entire community in 9th District, because at the end of the day, when our community thrives, our children thrive. And so I say to you today, I would like for us as a collective body in 2023 to continue with that mindset of like, what are we doing for our children? I would not only ask that question to us, I would continue to ask that question to residents, our neighbors in our neighborhoods. I will ask that question to our staff. What have we done each day for our children by asking the question, how are the children? This week alone, I learned even more about, not even found out, I knew about these issues. I learned even more about issues that were impacting our community and our children. Number one, our social workers. This is why we introduced this resolution. Our social workers who are working every single day for our children are suffering. They have high caseloads, they have low salaries, and the administration is having a hard time finding social workers. We're having a hard time. Yesterday, I was at an amazing session with Council Member Isaiah Thomas, who led this Education Committee working session in West Philadelphia. And one of the things that we found out from the teachers there is that our children need social workers in our schools. We're also learning that our children need social workers every day, but there's a lack of social workers that are protecting their mental health. What are we doing every day to make sure that we're increasing the population of social workers and making sure that they have good salaries so they can work for our children? The second thing that we're also learning is that our schools need high-quality programs and also and nonprofits and organizations and mentorship. We talk about a village, but one of the things I have to emphasize is that I know that there's some council members, including Councilmember Thomas and among many others, who have visited schools throughout their district or throughout the city of Philadelphia. I ask that all of us do a better job with increasing our presence in our schools, because our presence alone is enough to be a village for our children as our colleagues. And then lastly, I think it's also really important that we think about our city workers. Many of us, we work around here every single day. I went to a meeting with a local the other day, and I actually found something out that I knew, but it became more apparent for me. There are poor working conditions, there's poor salaries for a lot of our city workers, and they are taking care of our children. They can't even get the homes that they need to take care of our children. And then SEPTA this week, many people don't know, 26 routes are being up for consideration of being cut through the SEPTA bus revolution. We have to think about how that impacts our seniors, our disabled, and most importantly, our children, because their safety is really important. So I say this to you today, as we think about bills and resolutions for next week and the weeks to come, let's always have our children in mind. I know sometimes we get bogged down with a lot of different issues that are coming across our desks, but I think it's important that whatever we do it for the sake of our children. And I want you to know that I'm thankful that people have reached out to me, people have contacted me, and I'm continuing to go out to the residents, including recently, I went to Samuel Fells High School, and I just got to say, they got this beautiful shirt right here last week in Northeast Philadelphia, and I learned a lot about their need for apprenticeship programs and support, which I also read recently that Councilwoman Kathy Gilmore Richardson and Councilman Isaiah Thomas went to Shorebury Mansion High School, along with you, Councilman Clark, to really explore apprenticeship programs for our children. So I want our city to know that there are our colleagues or city council members who are doing work for our children, but I know when things get tough, we get bogged down. Let's keep that question, how are the children, in mind in everything that we do, and make sure that we are always focusing on the issues 24/7 to really fix all these issues that really impacted the city of Philadelphia. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Harity.
Council President, I'd just like to reiterate what my colleague, Councilman Phillips, has said. I actually do get up every morning and ask myself, what can I get for the kids of Philadelphia today? The problem is the kids in my neighborhood in Philadelphia are not getting an honest shake. Last week I had 2 kids shot at the top of my street, over 60 rounds fired. Last night I got home to a kid was shot at the corner store as he was coming out. I don't know whether it was intended or whether he was just an innocent bystander coming out of a store. While everybody in this room is affected by gun violence, I really live with it on a daily basis. It's in my mind every day. And, you know, the people being shot in my neighborhood are kids. And even worse, they're being shot by other kids. This is unacceptable. And, you know, I was glad that Councilman Phillips is putting that into everybody's head. I think we should absolutely come in here every day and say, what can we do to make the children of Philadelphia's life just a little bit better? They're not asking for much. They just need to feel safe. And I feel it. I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe right now in Philadelphia, in my neighborhood, in countless other neighborhoods. We need to get a handle on this. And I'm just asking all my colleagues to think of what Councilman Phillips just said. And let's think about the kids every day and see what we could do to make their lives better. Because as we heard earlier, they are our future. And we need to give them a future. So I just ask that everybody think about that a little bit. And thank you, Council President, for letting me speak.
Thank you, Councilman. It's on our minds every day, all day. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. President. No one has to tell me or any Philadelphian how important this city is to the fabric of our nation's history, nor question the pride we have as residents of the birthplace of democracy. This resolution that I introduced today reasserts the importance of that pride and historical significance and conveys how adherent the Union League's decision, despite our opposition from over 100 of its members, is to honor a man who has disregarded and disrespected so much about what makes us who we are as Americans. Governor Ron DeSantis received the Union League's Gold Medal, an award first given to President Abraham Lincoln, juxtaposed the actions of a president whose landmark actions led to the emancipation of hundreds and thousands of enslaved African Americans across the country, with those of a prospective presidential candidate of the same party, whose views, education about the Black experience as unconstitutional. Now, consider the deeds of the so-called patriot who inhibits the ability of children to learn how to be productive members of society while their unique selves by banning books from schools and libraries and stroking fear of being true to yourself via such policies as "Don't Say Gay." Consider the needs of a man who refuses to uphold the sanctity of democracy by supporting the big lie and arresting formerly incarcerated individuals who wish to re-enter and contribute to society by exercising their civic duty. Holding public office is an honor and a privilege that should be reserved for those who truly have the best interests of people at heart and want to promote equitable change, those who embody the meaning of service in every way. It should not be taken for granted or abused by elitists or the wealthiest Americans simply looking for something to do with their spare time. In other words, having money does not make you fit to run for public office. The Union League's decision to award their most distinguished honor to this type of person flies in the face of everything we strive to protect, everything that makes us Americans. That's why I am proud to co-sponsor this resolution with my colleague, Councilmember Kenyatta Johnson, and all other members that signed on, condemning an organization as well as all those who support it that claims to uphold our democratic ideals, yet has exhausted someone who has undermined those ideals and singled out marginalized groups time and time again. I call on anyone who values our democracy, who holds a Union League membership, has held events or socialized there frequently, to cut all ties with them immediately. Let's be crystal clear. This is not how we unify our people, but is exactly how one sows further discord. And the Union League should be ashamed to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So true. That concludes our speeches today on behalf of the minority and the majority. And with that, the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the council stand adjourned until Thursday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, is this button working? Nothing's registering. All right, well, we have a little technology issue. We'll figure it out. Chair recognizes Councilman Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, Councilmember Harity, myself, and our co-sponsors introduced a resolution calling upon the Pennsylvania General Assembly to allow cities and counties of the first class to set their own minimum wages. As a former member of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, there are few things that are more diverse in need than the minimum wage across our Commonwealth. While all Pennsylvanians feel the burden of inflation, those in our Commonwealth's economic engine simply must pay more to reside here than in many other communities. According to the MIT Living Wage Calculator, 2 roommates working full-time trying to live in Philadelphia must each earn roughly 11.8% more than if they resided in Mifflin County, based on their 2019 analysis. While even Mifflin County, one of the lowest cost of living counties in our Commonwealth, is still not properly served by our current federal minimum wage. The issue is particularly acute in our city. Once again, Mr. President, we call upon the Pennsylvania General Assembly to do what 55 cities and counties have done across the nation and allow cities and counties to enact their own minimum wage laws. 14 years is far too long. And on another matter, if I may, Mr. President, I want to recognize the Lunar New Year. You may see this gold object on my desk here. It was a gift from the Asian community to me this week. It signifies the Year of the Rabbit. And on January 22nd, and throughout the last week, I celebrated our entering into the Year of the Rabbit alongside many residents of my district. We served our community when we distributed food at Cottman and Frankfort and cleaned up the area near Tacony Baptist Church. Households across my district, this city, and our nation were full of family, friends, and loved ones with optimism for the year to come. Unfortunately, over this past week, starting on the Lunar New Year, members of the AAPI community were targeted and attacked across the nation. Mr. President, I request a moment of silence for the 11 killed and 9 injured in Monterey Park, California, for the 7 agricultural workers of Asian and Hispanic descent murdered in Half Moon Bay, California, and for the victims of the shooting at Tokyo Foods in Evandale, Ohio.
Thank you. May we please have a standing moment of silence for the Thank you, Councilman. Okay, I believe that.
Mr. President, can I just finish then?
I'm sorry, Councilman.
May I finish
What did you?
my remarks?
Okay. You finished? Oh, I'm sorry.
Almost. with your permission, Mr. President.
All right. No, Councilman, this is you all are my bosses. Whatever you wish to say.
Thank you. As I said when this body passed my resolution condemning anti-Semitism, an attack on one faith is an attack on all faiths. We must do more to protect Asian Americans in our city. I commend and repeat President Biden's call for a federal assault weapons ban. I call upon the General Assembly of Pennsylvania to pass common sense safety legislation, including safe storage, no fly, no buy, lost and stolen firearms reporting, and red flag laws. Guns in the hands of people who intend to use them to harm, intimidate, and kill facilitate the high violent crime in our city and across the nation. It is irresponsible to not allow this body to pass legislation to protect its citizens and in turn do nothing at the state level. I hope that this new season of the General Assembly is able to do better and protect the people of Pennsylvania. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. We're with you 1,000%. Anyone else? Thank you. Just want to make sure. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the council stands adjourned until Thursday, February 2nd, 2023 at 10 a.m.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 2nd, 2023, 10 a.m. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, I have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much.